Well, should we start it off then?
I think actually what we should do is we should begin.
All right, well, welcome to the Player Podcast. Tonight, I'm joined with Riley, and we're going to be discussing what's going on in the gaming community, talk about what we've been playing this week, and maybe even talk about some things that we might be streaming this week if you guys are even lucky. If you guys can even handle that crap. So, well, some cool stuff. Some cool stuff has been coming up in the gaming world. Stadia is back at it again with some news. So, did you hear about Ubisoft, how they're reporting their games to Stadia?
Ubisoft, huh? Assassin's Creed. We need some more of that.
Dude, there's not enough Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it sounds to me like Ubisoft has discovered that whatever sort of developer kits Stadia has are very easy to work with in terms of porting games.
Yeah.
So they're going to create another stage in their pipeline going forward so that all their games can be ported onto the Stadia platform.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool because Ubisoft's, I would say, one of the bigger game studios. It's a very recognized studio out there, and they produce a lot of big games. And they announced 6 games actually that they're going to be ported there. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, The Division 2, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, some other ones, The Crew 2, Trials Rising, and of course Just Dance 2020.
Of course, Just Dance.
So I'm not a big Assassin's Creed guy. I don't know. I never really got into that franchise. And they come out with so many. Just every year, there's like a new game in the series. I don't even know where to begin.
For years now.
Yeah, right. So,
and my understanding is the quality has improved, but I haven't played Assassin's Creed since Black Flag, which was 4. So,
and that was like 15 Assassin's Creeds later. Oh man!
If they port Rainbow Six Siege, I think that will be a big one for people. Yep. The game's got a big following, so they definitely have. If they can port a lot of their back catalog, I think that it will go well for them. Kind of create like an Ubisoft arcade.
Yeah.
I know that they have their own client on PC if you want to, get their games. Right. And access to their library, but it'd be kind of cool to be able to go back and get like the old Splinter Cell games before they were crappy, or go back and pick up some of their older catalog games that aren't really readily available to the current generation.
That'd be way cool, especially if they're saying that it's as easy as it is to port to Stadia. I mean, why not, right? That you could easily make a ton of money just porting over a lot of the old stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be way cool.
The way the story sounds, it kind of sounds like they're going to do it going forward. But if they cut out a few people on the team to do some old games, I think it would be to their benefit.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, if they kind of catch up with their latest games, like these 6 that they're talking about that are going to be confirmed for the launch, and then kind of go back, because moving forward, it's just going to be in the pipeline. But if they could just have a team go back and port some of the big titles that really brought people to the franchises that they have, that could be money.
Be money, man.
Be money.
Not everything in Stadia Land is sunshine and rainbows. Was a keynote where they discussed some of their launch, maybe I could say limitations. I believe they'll address these later, but the initial launch of Stadia going to include the ability to use Bluetooth headsets with the Stadia controller.
Yeah.
For me, my headset's wired. It would also cost like $20, but for people who shell out $100 or $200 for Bluetooth headsets,
yeah,
that's kind of a bummer if they want to jump right into Stadia. With like Destiny 2 being a launch title, if they're going to push a lot of multiplayer really early on, that's kind of a bummer for people who have shelled out the money for those.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gonna be pretty rough because I feel like that's kind of what people are buying nowadays. When you buy a pair of headphones, more than likely they're Bluetooth now. Not too often are they're wired. But
Dude, if I could go to my kitchen and get pepperonis in between every gaming session and not have to bring my controller,
you'd be eating more pepperonis.
Man, pepperoni.
So, I mean, if you're playing on a PC or on your laptop that has Bluetooth enabled, you'd be able to pair your headset to the computer. It kind of sounds like it's just via Chromecast. So if you want to play on the TV through the Chromecast, that's kind of where you're out of luck because it doesn't pair specifically to it. But you'll be able to have that. But then again, your computer is going to have Bluetooth capability in order to have that function. Like my PC doesn't have Bluetooth. My laptop does, but I don't game a lot on my laptop, only when I'm on the go and if I feel like busting it out. So I don't know. It's kind of if you're advertising this as a home console, you want to be able to provide that to your user base. So it's kind of a big letdown, I would say, on their part. You think that just be rolled in right into their launch date to have all the bells and whistles, but
yeah,
freaking Google.
I'm sure it'll come along, but like you said, of marketability for a launch, you probably want as many features as you can get. And speaking of features at launch, they also mentioned that if you're going to be streaming on your TV through the Chromecast, you need to at least initially a Stadia controller.
Oh, that's right, because you can't use, because their first keynote, it made it sound like you could play with like an Xbox 360 controller.
Maybe not that old.
Or whatever the Xbox controller is these days, or the PlayStation DualShock. But so you'll be forced to use the Stadia if you want to play through the Chromecast.
And my understanding of their initial sort of announcement was that one of the cool things about Stadia was you could use your own controller.
Yeah.
So it's kind of maybe it's not a rollback of that. But it definitely is another one of those launch features that is going to not be there to sweeten the pot for people who initially had been excited about playing Stadia with their already owned PlayStation or Xbox controller.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the big selling points too, because it was like, hey, you can just play however you want, any way you want, with any equipment that you want. And that was like, dang, this is like, it's free. And most of us already have a Bluetooth controller. Heck, man, why not, right? So for them to like kind of change that near launch, or I guess near beta, we've got a couple of months, it's kind of a letdown because now it's more, they're limiting us. And maybe the reason is because, it's not technically free. If you want to play through a Chromecast, you got to pick one of those up. That's $35 unless you want to play 4K, and that's $70. and then the controller itself is another $70. That's $140. So
that's assuming you have a 4K TV.
Exactly, that's assuming you have a 4K TV, which I still don't have a 4K TV. So
what's 4K?
Dude, I'll get 4K when 16K is on the market, and 4K is like in the discount bin.
4K to 8K to 16K, and you're like, I can afford it finally.
I could do it, man. So
in me, which when it comes to Google, there's not that much to be cynical about, but he kind of thinks that it sounds like they just want to sell more of their hardware at launch.
Yeah, it does. I mean, thinking about it from their standpoint, the servers are already out there. They probably have some of the most servers around the world. The technology's there. To me, it's just a matter of whipping up a quick UI and getting some third parties out there to bring games to your console, and then it's just them pushing their hardware.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully they'll keep good on the promise of being able to use any controller, but
yeah, and hopefully that this is just like a first couple of months, right? Maybe it's just the minimal viable product. Like, let's just roll out the minimum, and then 6-8 months we'll see what the user base is talking about, where we can improve the most, and if people really want these other controllers to be compatible, then we'll build that in. Hopefully,
and
that's what it is.
I'm tired of buying the minimum viable product. Street.
Yeah, dude.
Sell me the final product. I'll wait.
I'll wait, Google.
Where do you stand on Stadia right now? Does it seem like an appealing prospect to you, or is it something that you're still kind of on the fence about, or just like not interested?
It's got my curiosity, and I just want to see how this thing actually plays out, because for them to advertise that you can stream, let me see, I got their website pulled up right here, and it tells you what the connection has to be. Yeah, no, not here anymore. They removed the, at least I don't see it. Anyways, it has me curious, because I want to know what the latency is going to be like, because it kind of seems a little too good to be true that I can stream like a locked 60 frames per second with no lag time. If that's the case, like that does have my attention, because it's free if you stream 10K or lower, depending on your internet connection. All you have to do is just buy the game. And if you wanna play on the TV, you gotta get a Chromecast, gotta get a controller. I already have a Chromecast, so that's not really an issue. I'd have to buy the controller, but if I can just play it on the PC, see how I feel about it, and say, okay, this actually works very well, then maybe I'd go buy a controller and play it from there. I like the idea that I don't have to always update a console. I'll always look forward to new console updates, but the idea of 8 years from now, I want to go back and play an old game. I don't have to dust off the GameCube and then find Mario Sunshine and plug it into play. I like the idea that I can just click it and play the game. But then again, that comes down to the developer support. So I'm very curious, because I think that this could be the future of gaming, but I feel like there's just...
There goes the dog.
That's Luna's opinion. Luna's not a fan.
No, she's not at all.
So I want to test drive it, see if it's something that I'm going to be into, because Destiny 2 will be free at launch. So I've got a buddy pass. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to play it. And if I'm liking what I'm playing, then I might just upgrade to the $10 a month. So what about you? Are you on the fence? Are you going to wait to see how it kind of plays out? What are your thoughts?
I'm mostly not that interested. I am interested to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I do think that cloud gaming will have a very big impact potentially going forward.
Mhm.
So that is interesting to me, and I do want to see what it's going to be looking like.
Yeah.
Problem for me comes down to the reliability, which right now may not be in terms of like ISPs, throttling data,
Mm.
like you said, latency, obviously like the initial cost,
Yeah.
then also the ongoing cost. And my understanding is if you're buying into the premium service that they have to offer, it's quite a bit more expensive than what PlayStation and Xbox have right now for their online service.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they've made it very clear this is not Netflix for games.
Mhm.
You'll have to pay full price for your games.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
so basically all you're doing really is you're paying even more money Google servers.
Mhm.
That comes the convenience of, like you said, playing on the go, hitting it up on your phone if you need to do that, or on a laptop for a quick session during your lunch break or something. Like, I can definitely see the benefits, but that kind of idea that I'm for a game
Mhm.
that is reliant on Google to when I want to play it.
Right. Yeah. 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 I see what you're saying. And a lot of people aren't going to have that speed too. So
Mm-hmm.
I found it. I was actually on the developer site to apply to become Stadia developer or whatever, to get a license to.
Dude, you're gonna make a game?
Dude, I'm doing it, man. But I went to their homepage, so they've got the speeds that you need here, and so like the minimum that you'll want, 720 with 60 frames, you'll have to have at least 10 megabytes, which isn't too bad. That's actually pretty reasonable. I think, I don't know what you would get on a 5 megabytes. I don't even know if it'd be possible on that, but 10's pretty small. I think that's what I get on my Wi-Fi. I'm hardwired. They got this tester connection speed. Since I'm hardwired in right now, I'm pulling in 152. Granted, not everybody has that. I shovel out for fast internet. But in order to get 4K, you just have to have like 30 megabytes per second, which is like a medium internet package. I'm really curious to see how well it will play on like a 3G connection, because if you can like pull out.
Have you ever streamed on a 3G connection?
Yeah, I have. I actually don't get too bad.
It's like watching a Lego movie.
I never really have too bad of a problem. The only time where it like comes in like Play-Doh graphics is when I'm in the middle of nowhere or leaving town. But when I'm like in the city limits, it's not too bad actually.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know if that's a phone thing or what that is.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know. I see what you're saying.
I think, like I said, I think it's a thing to observe for me.
Yeah.
Is in maybe a year or two, and if it seems like it's really hitting it hard and a bunch of my friends are jumping on,
Yeah.
That might be the right thing for me, especially considering like right now I've got home and a PC with multiple clients. Like if it will help me sort of condense my collection,
Mm-hmm.
all the games I want.
Yeah.
For me right now, I just don't know.
And it's an interesting that you mentioned this before. You have to like shovel out for the game price, right? And a lot of these games are $60. That's kind of a risk to take, right? Because if you're just going to shovel out a $60 AAA title game, and you're not sure how well it's going to play, that could be a little that could be risky, right? I mean, you probably want to test it on a couple of random games to make sure that it's actually going to work as good as they say it is. But to take that kind of a risk, like, I mean, they are advertising that it's going to have cross-platform capabilities, but I don't know. If you're playing Destiny 2 on PlayStation and I'm on Google Stadia, is PlayStation going to allow that? I don't know. And then we can't really do that cross-play unless you're on like an Xbox or something. So to be able to test that kind of stuff, I mean, you're going to have to shove out some money to really fill it out. And that could be risky. At least with a console, you know you're going to get something decent because they've had several generations. And people play them at, you know, the store electronic kiosks and get a feel for it.
They have dedicated hardware. Just know very specifically what they can and can't do, and they push the boundaries for sure.
Yeah.
You get, games with choppy slowdown and dropped frames and stuff. But I wonder, if this is going to change the way that games are developed in the future.
Yeah.
Dominant platform, because developers can just throw everything they want into the game. It's basically developing a PC game.
Yeah.
And then they're less incentivized to continue developing that kind of content for the other consoles. Obviously, Scarlet and PS5 sound like they're gonna, burn the house down with their hardware. But who knows? It may change the whole landscape of what developers see and what they work towards.
That's an interesting point because, they're talking about this kind of power. Essentially, a game developer can do whatever they want. They can finally have like the world's biggest map and more, and not have any load times or anything. So that would be appealing. But also, I guess to play devil's advocate, you're also kind of limiting yourself because, okay, my game is only going to be available on Stadia. Maybe the Scarlet and PS5 would be able to handle it. I don't know. We don't know much about those consoles yet, but if Stadia is the only one that can really handle like a huge, massive game that we haven't seen yet, then they're only going to be exclusive to Stadia. So is this going to be like Google Plus, where it sounds really cool, but then nobody uses it, and then you just put all your resources in this game that no one's going to play? So we probably won't see anything. I would imagine it might take like 5 years until developers like, okay, yeah, we can do this. We've seen the power and the capabilities, but also the other consoles kind of match in power, so we're not really gonna limit ourselves to just one platform.
It'll be an interesting thing to observe for certain.
What I want to see, though, I just want to see some Overwatch on Switch, man. That's what I want. I want to see some Overwatch on the Nintendo Switches, and then I'll be a happy
Blizzard,
man.
get on that.
Come on, Blizzard, get with it. And maybe with these new Switch updates, their little hardware updates that they're busting out, maybe that is a little enticing for Blizzard to bring Overwatch to the Switch. Because, I mean, the thing I like about Blizzard is that they're constantly updating this game, and it's free. Like, they just announced a new hero, Sigma. Kind of cool looking, kind of cool character. Another tank. And I just love that they keep updating this game. Like, it's one of the few games that's constantly being cared for and watched after. And the developers are always observing the characters and the gameplay and how they interact, and always just fine-tuning the moves and stuff. So you always get these buffs and nerfs. And then they introduce like a new character, Sigma, and you're like, dang, I gotta play some Overwatch. So I've started getting back into it, and it's been a long time. Like I haven't played it for like a year, and I just started playing it pretty heavy this week because I'm excited about this new stuff. And since I have been gone from Overwatch, there's been like 4 new maps. I think another character. Baptiste was released a couple months ago, so it's kind of exciting to see these new characters. And you haven't been in Overwatch for a while, have you?
In fact, the last time I played, they had just released a new character, Moira, I think, was the last time
Oh yeah, Ziggy
that I
Stardust.
played. Blizzard is kind of the king, I feel like, of the live model. You know, that's kind of the buzzword that's going around nowadays, where you and you support it for years and years with updates.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's jumping on that bandwagon now.
Yeah.
And I don't know everything, but Blizzard's been doing that
Yeah.
for a long, long time. They probably perfected the art way back with World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah.
That game's still around. They've reopened the classic servers because people want to play that more classic feel.
Yeah.
But then, Blizzard has a long development cycle. A new IP, I guess. They did World of Warcraft. They supported it forever,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know. They did StarCraft 2. 3 big releases and probably a bunch of extras.
Yeah.
They have Overwatch as their golden goose on console right now, and
Yeah.
like you said, they're still making new characters and new maps to entice those players that just love the game to keep playing.
Yeah.
So they definitely know what they're doing, especially with that free update, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
a lot of other games are trying the live service model, and they have some form of paid updates, and it's just not as user friendly as the free model.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to this guy the other day, and he was talking about how Blizzard has pretty much just like put all of their resources into Overwatch, and especially the Overwatch League, really trying to make this like a huge esport. And he made the comment that they've put so much money and so many resources into Overwatch that if it fails or if people just stop playing it, then they've kind of shot themselves in the foot, because they haven't really been giving any of their other games as much love and care. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because they have pooled a lot of money into the Overwatch League. But do you think that they've put all their eggs in this basket?
No. I mean, I think it would hurt, but at this point, an Overwatch fan base that keeps them, I would think. And if they're not developing any new game, they obviously are aware of what the revenue is like for World of Warcraft and whatever else they've got. Hearthstone right now is a big one that came out a few years ago.
Yeah.
Know how to make a cash cow for sure. And we talked about Titan a week or two ago.
Oh yeah.
They'll cancel a game if it's not working.
Yeah. It's
about
true.
it.
They don't care.
So
man.
I think they're not in any jeopardy of being bought out by EA, which means they probably won't get canceled anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree completely, because even Overwatch, that game, you look into the history of it, they had developed all of these characters, and it was originally going to be another MMO, something to replace World of Warcraft, because they thought that it was just going to be a phase thing and that people would just stop playing it. And the game got so complicated and it just wasn't fun, and they scrapped the whole project. But for years it kind of bothered them, because they created these characters that they love so much, to the point where they brought them back out of some USB or whatever, and they're and then they're like, all right, let's see what else we can do with these characters. And then they kind of took that Team Fortress model and then developed Overwatch. So it's kind of crazy, because they don't care. They'll pull the plug and just say this isn't working, and they have the courage of not publishing a garbage game. And I think that's one of the reasons why Blizzard is one of the king developers out there, because they only release something that's gonna make them money, something that's worthwhile, and that's not gonna taint their name or their brand.
So are they making a further push into esports? Is that what I've heard?
Overwatch, or just in general as Blizzard.
Yeah, Overwatch. I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, they have developed an entire mobile application where you can check out a bunch of teams. They added, it was like 3, 4, 5 new teams this season, and it's like a full-on league where you can follow people, watch live games, watch previous games, check out the scoreboards. And they're doing a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm actually excited because I think it's time that esports makes a jump as big as it can be, because video games, and they've made more money than the music and the video industry combined, and why not take advantage of that and have people watch it and be a part of it, and aspire to do something with your video game skills, because there's definitely an interest in it.
I suppose you heard about the Fortnite World Championships that just happened.
Oh yeah.
$30 million in
Yeah,
prize money.
that's freaking
I would say that
bananas.
esports is coming into its own for sure.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? So I work at the university, and I went to go get a hot dog, and there was this poster for esports. So the university has an esports league, and they had 3 games, I believe. It was Overwatch was one of them, Rocket League, and the third one I think was Smash. It was Smash or World of Warcraft. No, it was League of Legends. That's what it was. Those 3.
This is University of Phoenix, right? Oh my gosh, just
Straight
kidding.
up, dude. Yeah. So, but it's crazy because there's other universities out here. I read in the news. I think it was a university in Virginia. I'm probably wrong on that, but one of them is offering scholarships if you're on the esports team, like it's an actual recognized university sport, and you can get scholarships to play for them, which is bananas, because if someone paid me to play Overwatch while I went to school, see ya, student loans. Get out of here, man.
My dad told me nothing would come from playing video games.
I've wasted my life.
Seriously.
I could have been something. Yeah. And it's kind of cool. They're Overwatch. I don't know if you've heard that they're doing role locking now. So it's a feature that's going to be coming out soon. So they're actually making the game more like the esport, where they're going to lock down the amount of characters in each match. So we know that there's like healers, support, and tanks. So it sounds like they're going to force every match, every player to pick one of them. So there's got to be 2 tanks, 2 healers, 2 DPS. So that's kind of interesting that they're kind of forming the current game to kind of match the esport experience, which kind of makes sense. I mean, when you go out and play football with your friends, you don't just make up a game with the ball. You follow the rules and you play like an actual football game. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's going to discourage or encourage the fan base, but I think it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think the role locking, like universalization within a game for a competition scene is going to be good, especially for the competition. Or some more of the, at-home players.
Yeah.
But people will come into their own.
Yeah.
And a game like Overwatch has so much variety that is your main. For a round or two, you can find someone else fun to play with, I think.
Yeah.
The only problem is and I've had this problem with some games, is that if you have a dedicated group that you play with, it's a lot harder, to play with randos and get good with your main.
Right.
If your main is the new guy Sigma, or or whoever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and every time you jump into a random match, someone else is choosing healers or tanks, and you're not able to play with your character. I could see that
Yeah.
being frustrating.
That would be very frustrating because there's people who strictly just play as one character, and if I get into a match and then, hey, I can't play as Junkrat because all the DPS is down. Yeah, I was gonna say Pharah, but I didn't want to sound like I'm obsessed with her, but I am. So in my experience, you look at my stats, I've dumped like 100 hours into Pharah, and then everybody else is like 10 hours. That's gonna be frustrating if I play a game and I can't be Pharah. And I'm going to have to play as Reinhardt or Mercy. So it's going to be one of those, you have to act fast. But so I wonder if that's going to discourage the current user base, because is that frustration going to be there? Are they not going to be able to play as their main as often? And it's actually this week, since I've read that they're going to start role locking, I've branched out quite a bit to play as different characters in different roles, because I don't want to be stuck playing a character I'm not familiar with by any means. I've actually had a lot of fun doing that. There's a lot of new characters that I've really enjoyed. Unfortunately, they're all support characters. I hate tanks, man. They're so slow.
They're hard.
Roadhog, though, man, I've been getting pretty good at Roadhog.
I mean, I think you're going to pay $60 for a game. You might as well, maximize your investment.
Yeah.
With some different characters. But, everyone plays it their own way, so
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly.
I only play Zenyatta, so.
But it's kind of cool. They've done these changes before. I mean, when the game was released, everybody could play the same character, which is weird because, I got into the game well before they locked that feature out, where you could only be one type of a character. So, I don't know. I like the idea that you are forced to be a different character on the team, because that makes the whole game completely different. Every match depends on who the characters are that the other team is. And sometimes you have to say, you know what, Pharah's not working out this match. I have to change to Roadhog. We're just not getting in there. Everybody, 3 snipers is not helping anybody. We gotta freaking get in there with some tanks so someone can stay on the point without dying. So I think it could be good for the game, but I think that there might be some frustration, like you said.
Hopefully Blizzard will keep an eye on it. If it's not working, they can make a change,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your boy.
I've been playing that a lot this week. That
Overwatch.
Yeah, a bunch of Overwatch. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think my brother got me back into it, to be honest. He kept messaging me and saying, hey, let's play some Overwatch. And he actually got my other brother pumped about Overwatch. He'd never played it, and so he started playing it. And then I was like, man, that is a good game. I'm going to get back into Overwatch. So...
But more the merrier.
More the merrier. The only problem is I play on PlayStation, and my other brother plays on Xbox, and neither of us have the other console, so I can't play with him. But, yeah. What have you been playing this week?
Let's see. So we went on vacation. I brought my PlayStation, but we didn't have an internet connection, so I could only play download a game. So
Nice.
I crunched out some Bloodborne DLC. I've got a few more bosses to go in that.
Nice.
A few more areas to explore. Just working on who's got their summer event.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say it's called Moments of Triumph. So they give you a bunch of tasks to complete before a certain time period's up.
Yeah.
I've been working on those, and then just this week they've another event called Solstice of Heroes, which is they always do that kind of at the end of season before the next big release. So in September they'll have their next big release.
Yeah.
They're kind of doing this Solstice of Heroes to kind of wrap up. You can recap a lot of your old memories in the game unlock a lot of cool new stuff. So
Yeah.
uh,
That's really cool.
working on that.
Nice, man. Nice. I downloaded Bloodborne. I gotta get back into it, and I especially want to play it more because you were saying, I think it was last podcast, that game's in like your top 5 favorite games of all time.
Good.
Dang, dude, that sounds really good. Sounds scrumptious. I've been playing Overwatch a lot. Yeah, we've talked about that. Enter the Gungeon, dude. I freaking
That's your game.
love that game, dude. It's so... I have it on console and on PC, and I love it on PC. It's just so easy to kind of move the gun around a little bit better with the mouse, because you can do like a 360 spin with it, so it's just a little bit easier to just ease the wrist. You can kind of hit the enemies a little bit more accurately. So I've been playing a ton of that when I'm on my PC. And I've had this game close to a year now, and it's one of those where it's so difficult that you play it, then you're just like, I hate this game, I can't get anywhere, and then 3 months later you're like, oh man, I'll play some Gungeon, I haven't played it, and then you just get a little bit farther. So this time around, after like 3 attempts of different time periods, I'm on like I got to the second boss, which is not saying much, but it's so hard, but it's a lot of fun because every match is different, because the dungeon's never the same. Like, it's dynamically organized. They have like specific rooms, but there's so many of them, and they're just randomly compiled. So every time you get in, there's different guns and different rooms, and the map is never the same. And sometimes the bosses are even different too. So it just challenges you. It challenges you every time. You can't just master every level because it's the same. So I appreciate that kind of like attention to detail, and that it just increases the difficulty of this game. You got to master the game, not the level.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's been good. Rented Mario Tennis. I went to Redbox to drop off something, and then we looked at the games, and Mario Tennis was there. And then my wife and my son were like, let's play Mario Tennis. I was like, I've never played that. Well, we rented it, we played it, we hated it. It's so hard for a tennis game. You think just smacking a ball back would be a lot of fun. I kind of thought it was going to be a lot like Wii Sports, that kind of tennis game, which I thought was a lot of fun. And they do have that mode, apparently, where you can take a Joy-Con and then bat the ball back and forth. But I'm having issues with one of my Joy-Cons, which is kind of funny because I have that drift problem in the left Joy-Con of my Switch. So it totally ruined the experience, and I couldn't even play it. But I guess that's like the last bit of news that we can talk about, that Nintendo is going to be repairing their Joy-Cons free of charge.
You go, Nintendo. You go.
So I did hear, and I think this was like a week or two before they announced this, that someone was suing them about it. And I saw it on Reddit under like Our Nintendo, I think is what it was. So I think maybe they were just like, oh crap, yep, we're gonna get busted for this one. So I think maybe they're like, no, we're gonna do it for free. Just send it to us. So regardless, hey, it's gonna be a free repair.
That'll be nice.
Are there any details on that? I don't know if you've read into it. I don't know if there's instructions yet, or if they've put something in place to make that happen quite yet. Don't you have that same problem with your Nintendo Switch?
I don't know any of the details.
Dude, get a Nintendo Switch, man.
I totally have a Nintendo Switch, and it has a drift compatibility with my brain. I don't know about getting it fixed.
You know, some people are a little skeptical about getting the Switch Lite because of that drift problem.
Really?
Yeah, but I
Maybe
don't.
It's in the console. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but so here's the thing with the drift issue. It only happens if you have your Joy-Cons out of your Switch and there's something blocking the Nintendo. So you can't put the Switch behind your TV because it's blocked by the TV, so it doesn't receive the reception very well. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with the Switch Lite, but who knows? If there is, they'll just fix it for free.
Miyamoto knows.
All right, so this week we'll be streaming Hollow Knight Thursday on Twitch. Check us out. We're a Player Podcast. You can search for us. There'll be a link in the description below. And that's just going to kind of be the game that we're going to be playing for a couple of weeks now as part of our club. Feel free to join us, play the game, and then we're going to dedicate an entire episode talking about the greatness and the glory of Hollow Knight, the game.
Much greatness, much glory.
Because it's a goodie. It is a goodie. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us this week. So make sure that you follow us on your favorite streaming platform and check out the stream Thursday. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Farewell.